Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about why do we miss people who were toxic, horrible, or maybe even abusive to us. I also wanted to talk a little bit about limerence, and I also wanted to share a personal story about how all of these things connect to each other. And hopefully, to just talk about your trauma bonds and to make them make sense if you are somebody who is having a hard time with leaving an ex, or if you are dealing with the situation of why am I missing someone, even though I am well aware of all of the horrible things that happened in our relationship or how horrible that relationship was for me. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was limerence. I am planning on doing a podcast that gets into more detail with this, so this is just going to be a brief rundown. Feel free to Google it. But if you don't know what limerence is a state of mind that often gets confused for love. And people who can fall into patterns of limerence or even that state of being are people who are dopamine deficient or serotonin deficient, or maybe even both. So we're talking people with OCD, which by the way is genetic, and people with ADHD. The difference with limerence and love is that love is going to be rooted in hormones like serotonin, vasopressin, oxytocin, whereas being in a state of limerence is rooted in dopamine, adrenaline. The difference in these two states of mind is that limerence is going to cause focus, hyperfixation, obsession. It's going to feel like love. It's going to be so consuming in your mind that you're literally not going to want to start your day unless you get that good morning text from that person. Some people have described it as that bad. And then there is the state of love where you get that vasopressin, oxytocin, just chemicals that relax you, that make you feel safe, that make you feel calm. It's completely different from being obsessed. Whereas when you're limerent, you can't get that person off your mind. When you are experiencing love, you can turn off that thought and you can go on to do something and be completely functional without any issues. And the thing is that with limerence, you can fall out of that state within a week or within 3 years. It's not known to be something that lasts forever. Whereas when you love someone, you might always hold a space in your heart for that person. And no, not just thinking that they're attractive long after they're gone. Now, how does this relate to why do we miss people who are bad for us? When we miss someone who is bad for us, we're describing a relationship that probably was tumultuous. It probably had a lot of ups and downs. And with those ups and downs, you saw probably the best side of this person, the sweet, the loving, the caring, the generous. But then you probably also experienced the other side of them that was rude, degrading, devaluing, dismissive, maybe passive aggressive. Maybe they got loud with you. Maybe they outright broke up with you and then took you back the next day or the next week. You're also talking about a person that maybe you had fights that gave you really severe headaches. And then with these headaches came the situation of, okay, this is going to be a relationship that's over. Now I'm going into this breakup state of mind, which physically hurts. And then that person comes back into your life and they whisk you away and they bring you back into their world. And it's like, oh my God, they took away my headache. I have my source of happiness again. So with this state of mind is a rise of all of your happy hormones and then a crash and then a rise again. And this pattern is addictive. When you leave a relationship that has put you through that, even if it was 1 or 2 times, your body forms an addiction. And it's very similar to people who get addicted to substances who end up becoming junkies for it. So now combine somebody who's limerent and combine trauma bonding, and you have the perfect pair for being somebody who is probably obsessed with someone long after the relationship is over. Or maybe even just being in this short-term relationship and feeling like, oh my God, this is worse than my 1-year relationship, or this is worse than my 2-year relationship. The thing is that with these relationships, just because it's short or whether it's long, the reason why it's going to have a different level of hurt is because it's going to depend on where you are in your life and what that relationship meant to you during that time. It's going to carry a different significance. Or maybe in your long relationship, maybe you were always waiting for it to get better and it never did. And maybe this other one just started off with love bombing. Maybe it was with somebody who was narcissistic and they just knew exactly what to say and the strings to pull and how to bring you in closer and then push you back and pull you away and just create that addiction. Who knows? But basically, there's a chemical reason in your brain why you are addicted to this person. Your body knows that you are experiencing highs and lows, but all it's focusing on is the highs. I think it's specifically called euphoric recall online. But with euphoric recall, what happens is you only focus on the good. And while you're only focusing on the good, your body will start to have those physical withdrawals of wanting that good in its life so bad that now you don't just miss that person in your head. You feel it in here. It is a heart-sinking feeling of craving a connection, but not just with anybody, specifically with that person. Because your body is telling you, I really miss that dopamine. I really miss that high. But not only does it think, okay, I miss that high, it knows that it came from that person. So now your body is telling you that you need to go back to that person to get that high back, no matter what that person actually did or what was going on in your life. And another situation that happens here, and this is something that I pulled from Michelle Lee Neve's coaching on YouTube, an amazing therapist, is that when you are in a dynamic that you are consciously aware of the toxicity, the part of your brain that is associated with logic and reasoning shuts off. Now, the right part of your brain that knows what a red flag looks like, that knows that things are problematic, that intuition inside your head that's saying this isn't right, this is wrong, this is going to hurt you, this is going to be bad down the road. You know all these things. You knew these things for a very long time. You probably are very aware. You probably see your friends go through bad situations and you're able to pull them out of it. But you're thinking in your left lobe. And you're only focusing on the emotion, on how good it feels to be with this person, and you're just not thinking logically. And with that comes an inner subconscious message of, I can't trust my intuition. I can't trust my own decisions. The things that I know are not capable of helping me because now I'm in this situation. So now you have this other problem of when you finally do leave this relationship, it's, oh my God, my self-esteem is rocked because I knew better. I knew that I should have had boundaries. I knew that I should have stuck to my guns. I knew that I'm someone who had better interests that I needed to look out for, that only I was going to protect, but I let this other person walk all over them. So then after we get this rise and fall, this addiction, now we're living with shame. What I want you guys to know is that all of these things can be mitigated. With breakups, time is only a small factor of something that's going to get you through it. You have to actively, consciously, and physically work through your breakup. And what's happening is after you leave this state of mind of tumultuousness or even physical addiction and withdrawals, as you're going through these entire things, what's happening is the part of your brain, your amygdala, that's responsible for fight or flight, is swollen and it's throbbing and it is activated in a way that's not even natural or that's benefiting you. So now you have to begin the process of doing activities and engaging in habits that release the tension that's being pent up in there, that release the tension that's pent up in your body. And things that will help you do that are meditation. It is yoga. It is exercise. If you're struggling with rise and falls of dopamine, you have to go exercise and bring that to your body naturally. If you're struggling with serotonin, you have to go on at least 3 to 4 30-minute walks in a week, or at least some other form of cardiovascular activity. You need to make sure that you're getting in sun. You need to make sure that you're getting in your important vitamins, things like vitamin D, because vitamin D is a hormone that's essential for many other functions in your body. So there are ways that you need to tackle this that are going to help you out on a neurological level and on a physical level. Another thing too, you cannot be in the habit of looking at their Instagram, their Twitter, their TikTok, whatever social media they had. You have neural pathways in your brain that are designed to go check on their social medias, to go see what they're up to. The more you replace that neural pathway habit with something else, Like, let's say, okay, instead of looking at their social media, I'm going to go and do 15 minutes of reading, or I'm going to go and clean something in my bathroom, or just replace it with any positive habit that will better suit you. Maybe go write in your journal. Why are you thinking about messaging this person right now? Another thing that's hurting you as well, if you are somebody who is struggling with dopamine issues after a breakup, is you cannot drink it out. You cannot shop it out. You cannot smoke it out. It helps. Yeah, it helps to hide behind these things, but you're elongating your process of actually going through this. Because the more that you tell yourself, I'm sad, I just want to be happy, you are highlighting the fact that you are sad. You're not actually sitting there and going through that act of being sad. You're actively working against it by wishing that you were something else. If you have to cry, cry. I've had times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do yoga for heartbreak, like on YouTube. And as soon as I start the thing, I'm already crying, or I'm in the middle of it and I'm already crying. This is just the withdrawal process of detoxing this person from your body. And going back to social media, along with drinking it out, smoking it out, shopping it out, don't scroll on Twitter for 2 hours and get obsessed with that habit as well, or scroll on TikTok for 2 hours. You need to allow your body to dopamine detox. And this is something that could take a week to 2 weeks. The information online for this is sketchy. I do personally enjoy Dr. K's from the Gamer Health Channel's perspective on it. He has a really good lecture about how to do this. I'm not a therapist. I can't tell you in full detail. The premise is that you reduce the amount of time that you spend on social media. So you time cap yourself for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, chill out, go do something else, focus on something else, or even just sit with yourself. The way to deal with boredom, according to Dr. K, is to literally sit with yourself and be bored. Which, when you're sad, the first thing that you do is start going to all the places that your mind does not want to go. On top of making yourself feel better through exercising, yoga, physical activity, detoxing yourself outside of social media and relying on alcohol and substances, there's this other element of reshifting your focus back to you. What really helped me out through my personal experience of limerence and trauma bonding was refocusing on my purpose. I had to ask myself, what do I want for me? What's important to me? Where's the direction that my life is going in? I had to tell myself, November's a new month. November's for me. We have a new season in here. I'm going to read books. I'm going to think about what I want to share with my audience. I'm going to think about my future vacations. I'm going to focus on my friends. I'm going to work on my fitness goals. Think about the life that you are going to create and how that person is not a part of it. They are part of the past. You are creating a new future. Thinking about them being in your future is delusional. Accept the fact that once they are gone, they are gone. There is no return. You may tell yourself they always come back. Don't do that. You're hurting yourself. You need to allow yourself to actually move on and to heal. If you want to get through this breakup quick, you have to accept that they're not coming back. And even if they did, say that this person did come back, you will have advanced so far physically, mentally, and emotionally, and they probably still wouldn't even appreciate it. Do not comfort yourself with he's coming back. I was debating whether or not I would share my personal experience with this, but I think something has to be said for the fact that I spent 3 months off of YouTube. I made some pretty good logical videos before I had this 3-month gap on YouTube and on my podcast. And it was because I decided I'm going to relax with the sugaring and I'm going to actually look for somebody who matches with my values, who is physically attractive, and who is financially well off. And I'm going to pursue a relationship that is just with somebody who is attracted to me and somebody that I'm attracted to as an individual for who they are, who is equally driven in their own way. And they don't have to be a millionaire. I was just telling myself I would be happy with finding a man who matches with my political ideals, my religious ideals, a man who lives, close to me, which I now lovingly refer to as backyard. But yeah, I was like, I'm looking for some backyard. So yeah, I think there was another aspect too of like me having come off of this relationship from 2020 that was emotionally. And having gone through this process of being okay with a man being in my life again, romantically and physically. And one of the things that happened to me was I met someone after the hemorrhoids man, or after the man who inspired the Dusty Ninja podcast. And when I met this dude, it was probably a month afterwards. And I knew on the first date that this was not a person who was good for me. But inside of my heart, I craved friendship. I felt lonely. I felt like I was lacking something within myself. And just because this was somebody who could like have a good laugh with me, who was high energy, who I really respected their career, I said, you know what? I am going to get involved with this. And all we did, every single time, I went so against all my values and my boundaries because I just wanted a connection so bad. And I accepted someone into my life who did not believe in taking care of me. He did not believe in chivalry, who follows an account called Dusty Sanchez on TikTok, which is, by the way, it's for teens, and this dude's like 31. It's like a red pill account for teens. So I think like I just ended up in a situation where my lobe turned off. And it kind of made me feel like I'm having imposter syndrome with sharing advice with you guys and being able to give information to you in a way that actually makes sense and is relevant. But what ended up happening was that I've realized that I was limerent. The reason why I'm even able to tell you about this today is because I got involved with this guy because within the first week, we were saying, I love you to each other. And then by the end of that week, we had broken up. And then we did not talk for a month. And then I got back involved. And then it started the yo-yo process of the dopamine rising and falling. And I ended up making TikToks about him. Anonymous TikToks, just kind of like how I'm talking about him anonymously here as well. And then he identified himself in those anonymous TikToks, which, by the way, it was literally me talking about how he gives me the nervous because he never makes a plan. It gives me anxiety that he doesn't want me seriously. Or there was even a moment when he almost got my car towed because he told me to park somewhere where I shouldn't have parked. And then he blamed it on me for trusting him. Eventually, he did say sorry, but it was still like things that were really stressing me out that was just like shocking to me that a person would allow into my world. Eventually, we just ended the relationship. Correction, it was a situationship, and he was the one who initiated the end of it because he did not like seeing somebody that he said that he cared about talking so low of him, especially in an online space. Even if it was anonymous, he just didn't like to know that that was happening in any capacity. Which, by the way, to me, if you don't want people to say bad things about you, don't do bad stuff. So I don't think that I did anything bad personally in my mind. It felt very cathartic to make those TikToks, but it was a huge point of contention, and it was something that made him really angry, and something that he says still makes him angry, but not in the same way that it did before. He says he doesn't care now. He says he just gets like acutely angry like for like 5 seconds, and then he gets over it. Back to the story. And I told him that I finally became aware of the fact that I do want a relationship with someone. I don't just want to be in an FWB hookup situation, just, enjoying backyard in the middle of the night with no schedule, no plan, just literally at the last minutes. And I told him, I was like, you need to stay out of my life because I am so limerent to the point where I know that if you hit me up, like, I'll probably take you back, and I can't keep going through this breakup makeup situation, and you need to let me move on. And this is to the effect of, obviously, the messages will say something that are like slightly different, but that's the combined effect. And 3 weeks went by, and one of the things that I noticed was that I had this heart-sinking feeling every single day, like clockwork, at 6 to 9 p.m. in a way that I've never had with anyone else. And the thing is that when you know you are limerent, and when you know that you've been like in a trauma bond and you've had these like rise and falls of hormones and chemicals, putting a name to the emotion is just half of the battle. Everything else is just mitigating it. So I got super into exercising and meditating, yoga, working out, and then it was still not helping. And me and my friend decided, you know what? Like, let's plan a trip to LA. And in that trip to LA, I got so focused with my problems of just arranging traveling, just being out there with my friends. I ended up inadvertently detoxing because I wasn't spending any time on my phone. And if I was listening to an ebook. And the times that I was exposed to YouTube, it was at night in her room, falling asleep to it, and just listening to the sounds of like thunder or rain, or just using it as background noise. So when I came back home, I was like, wow, not this entire week I did not feel that pain in here. And yeah, I may have thought about him in my head, but I realized that I was just using his name in my brain as a place for my mind to go when it was bored and it had nothing else to think about. So when I finally did come back home, this man was watching my social media. He admitted to it. He admitted to missing me. And one of my social media posts was talking about how I was coming back home the night before. Mind you, I had convinced myself that this man is gone. He is not coming back. We agreed to not talk to each other. I trust him in being responsible enough to not reach out to me. So I fully trusted that this was going to be somebody who wasn't going to make a return in my life. So when he did, I just literally couldn't help myself. I was literally like, yeah, I do want to see him, but not without giving him 40 minutes of back and forth. He was like, come over. I was like, no. He's like, please come. I'm like, no. He's like, just come. And I'm like, oh my God, if you keep asking me, maybe I'll pop up like Beetlejuice. Ha ha. So I kept going back and forth for like an hour with him. And eventually, yeah, I literally did Uber over that night. And when I Ubered over that night, I was so happy to be in his presence again. And I was just so excited to see him that we ended up having a sleepover. And that night I was in his bed and we both couldn't sleep for the first hour. And we took so much melatonin. We could not sleep. And I asked him, why can't you sleep? And he was like, because there's another person in my bed. Which brings up the question, like, did this man hate me? Maybe, probably. Whatever we had was not healthy. And then when he asked me why I couldn't sleep, the limerent me was like SpongeBob with Squidward. Like, I can't sleep because I'm just so happy to be with you, Squidward. I'm just so happy to be in your bed that smells like you and just be by your side. And it just feels so good to be reunited again. And he joked with me. He's like, oh yeah, you're basking in this moment. You can't miss a moment of this, so you can't sleep. It was funny. But I also remember for the first time when I left his house, I did not feel emotionally drained. I did not feel like I was losing my energy or like I lost something out of the situation, which was typically my feelings towards him prior going to California. So I actually felt zen, which made me think maybe I could be an FWB with him. Meh. The answer's no. But what happened was I told myself, you know what, maybe I could be an FWB with this man, but I would want to feel like things are on my terms. So the next day comes around, 24 hours later, and I texted him, hey, can I see you on Saturday? And let's say that this was on a Thursday, so there's probably like 2 days, in between. And he did not text me all Thursday. And then the next morning he texted me. And when I tried to have that conversation with him, he literally acted like I did not ask him that question. He completely avoided it. And when I told him, like, hey, are you going to answer the question of seeing me Saturday? He basically just completely ignored it. And he acted like I didn't even say anything. For me, this is probably like 24 hours later when I was like around Friday night. So let's say I realized on Friday night that this man was ignoring me. That's when I sat with myself and I said, oh my God, I can feel myself going up and down again. Now I'm thinking this is a bad situation, but I still did not miss him in my heart. I just thought to myself, okay, this is someone who does not care to the point where they cannot even make a lie. They do not think I am worth their words. They could not even tell me, no, we can't do Saturday, but how about we do another day? I realized that this was someone who just saw me being happy, who saw me living my life, who was really attracted to that version of me, but still did not want to give me human decency or respect of my schedule or just respect of my body and my time. And I took that as clarity and I moved on with it, and I was completely fine. I was completely fine with it because to me, it's like, that's all I need to see. That's all I need to know. But I was a little angry and I was a little upset, and I just wasn't expecting him to come back up. Let's say, okay, Saturday comes and goes. Now it's Tuesday, I'm at the park, and then I get a message from him saying, hey, oh my God, I'm the worst texter in America. I'm so sorry, or something. And I'm just like, this guy needs to let me move on. This guy needs to go. And there was the option of, oh, do I just ignore this or do I respond to it? This was bringing up the question on my live stream, why do they come back and do stuff like this to us? Someone on TikTok said that a man's ego is in direct proportion to the girl that he is messing around with. A part of the ego boost is knowing that he can leave and come back and disrespect your time and treat you poorly. And at this point, I have so emotionally separated myself from this person. I do not miss him in here. I do not miss him in here. I don't say his name in my mind when I want to feel warmth and comfort or when I'm bored. So when he came back, the option was, do I respond? Do I ignore? You guys, this is up to you to decide what you want to do. Unfortunately, I did take the aggressive route. And when he said, when he gave me that apology, I was like, apology denied. This man was someone, I was so limerent, I would fawn over him. He had never seen my mean side. This was the first time I was ever being mean to him. But it's like, if I have to be mean to you just to get you to be nice to me, I don't want to deal with that. And it wasn't even like he was saying, I know you wanted to see me. Let me see you this time instead, or let me make it up to you. He was just going on and on about being sorry and saying babe and stuff. And I was like, babe, I'm not your babe. Like, hilarious that you would disrespect my time and disrespect the attempt of me trying to see you. And you wouldn't even leap at the attempt to try to see me. And then you would want to call me babe. Anyways, I went through this entire situation. And I just want to let you guys know, this is really fresh off the brain. That final conversation literally happened yesterday. And I finally got to the point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you deserve so much more than this. You deserve someone who's excited to see you. You deserve someone who puts you on the schedule. You deserve someone who leaps at the opportunity to hang out with you. And if they can't hang out with you, they at least make another time. You deserve someone who respects your wishes. You deserve so many things that this person's not even giving you the bare minimum of. And when you finally get to that place of being able to know that in your head and just like believe it, you're going to leave that person and it's going to feel so good. You're going to feel justified. And the thing was that when this conversation came to an end and he was like, oh, we had good times. It was good getting to know you. It was nice having you in my life. That was what he said the last time around before he came back. And last time he said it, I was crying like, I'm gonna miss him so much. This time, I was like, was it that nice? I did not appreciate those sentiments as much as I did the first time around. And it's just a shock to me that I really, really wanted someone who would have caused me incredible emotional damage down the road, who would have been detrimental to my mental health. If you're dealing with somebody like that, just know that you don't need a literal reason to get out of there. You don't have to be like me and wait for your time and your energy to be disrespected. You don't have to wait for them to break up with you. For me, that was another thing too. When we had that final breakup before he returned back into my life 3 weeks later after I came back from LA, I was telling myself, I need him to dump me. I need him to give me that finality because I don't want to leave. And you know what happened was that I told him all of that. And then he ghosted me for a week, and then he came back and gave me that finality. And when he did, it just felt like he was placating me. And it broke my heart all over again. And it made me realize I'm in control of my own actions. I'm in control of my own emotions. I could have given that to myself. I was able to do it just by acting crazy and getting him to ghost me in general. But the whole point is that I am not perfect. I question my legitimacy in sharing information with you guys and being able to help you out because of the things that I was actively going through. But I think I am right here with you guys experiencing it all in lifetime, and these are the lessons and the takeaways that I got from it. So with that being said, with the closing notes that I want to give you guys today, if you are limerent, you do have to mitigate it. You do have to work on it. Possibly even seek out medication if you are somebody who is of the ADHD variety. For me personally, I know that I'm ADHD. I've never been medicated. None of my therapists ever wanted to treat me for it specifically. They just saw the fact that I was able to be functional and the fact that I was articulate as a form of me being able to manage it. But then again, I am a millennial and I grew up during an era where people were like, ADD and ADHD isn't real. So I know that I will always potentially be limerent, and this is specifically with me. Like, just because I know the word and just because I know how it feels and I can identify when I'm in that state does not help me get out of it alone. So for me, exercising a lot and going on those walks and making sure that I'm taking my vitamins and I'm taking care of myself on a neurological level as well as a physical level is something that has really helped me mitigate it. I'm just going to recommend that, but I am not a doctor. Another thing that I want to say too is that if you are dealing with a trauma bond or if you are dealing with a breakup, people will say that time heals all wounds. However, there is so much more than time that goes into it. You need to actively and consciously control your thoughts. You cannot just allow them to run around like a dog without a leash. You have to choose where your emotions are going. So while it is healthy to feel things in the moment and to allow yourself to be sad, you do not want to marinate in something. So when I say that, I want to be very specific. You can't just allow yourself to lay in bed all day long and start your day off with this person and then just never let them out of your mind. At some point, you have to break that mental loop and say, I choose physical activity. I choose friends. I choose family. I choose reading a book. I choose going on a walk. I choose doing cardio. I choose going for a run. Eventually, you have to do something to end that mind loop. Another thing that I really like doing and telling myself is that my mind does not live there anymore. That is no longer my mental safe place. I might even remind myself that being obsessed with that relationship or being obsessed with that person or craving them is not healthy or good for me. In fact, it's even delusional when I'm only focusing on the highlights and looking for reasons to make that my happy place in my mind. And with directing where my mind goes, there's also that part of you that has to be very aware. Hey, I'm only thinking about this person because this is where my mind used to feel safe and happy. And right now, I don't really have anything going on. I have a mental gap. There are just thoughts floating around in my brain. For me, it helps to visualize those thoughts as a cloud passing by my mind. It also helps me to remind myself that I am not my thoughts. Just because I think these things does not mean that I have to act on them or run away with them and go to the hills. Really good books for recentering your mind after an experience like this are going to be The Untethered Soul. Chidera Egru has 2 books. One is called What a Time to Be Alone and How to Get Over a Boy. I think they make for fantastic audiobooks. Actually, even the one that I mentioned before this is also really good as an audiobook. So I heavily recommend it if you're looking for something to get into to help you re-guide your mind. And remind yourself that when they're gone, they are gone. Okay, let's say, what if they do come back? Imagine this. It's not because they actually want you. It's not because they think you're valuable. It's just because you are a source for their ego. It's just because they have nobody else to bother. It is because they have no other options, or the options that they did have got into a fight with them, or they're just not working out. So whenever they do come back, it's never this grand mystical reason of them realizing the wrongs that they've committed and how they just want to do right by you and how they're actually obsessed and in love with you and they want you in their life again. If that's the case, it is very rare. But unless they are coming to you with, I messed up, I will change, I will show you consistent effort and change, they have not changed. They're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And as long as you keep allowing them back into your life, they are going to see it as permission. And in regards to my story that I shared with you guys, I hope that it was helpful. Thank you for hearing it out. I know a lot of you guys have been following it on TikTok and Twitch from the very beginning down to the very destructive, bitter, wild end. But I am going to leave this video here. If you do like my breakup content, I do have really good TikToks about it on my page. I also have my 2 other videos. One is about a Dusty, but I feel like it really applies just to people like just going through breakups in general. Because sometimes a Dusty, like, it's not even about dating somebody who's like ultra super rich. It's just about not dating somebody who derails you. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and watching my content. Make sure to leave some comments down below if you have a similar experience, or maybe if there's anything that you feel like you can contribute to this. Otherwise, I am going to bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much. Make sure to leave a like and make sure to hit the bell so that you get notified when I make another video. Bye, guys.